You stop texting first. You stop checking on him. You stop giving those good morning messages he never appreciated. And suddenly everything shifts because the moment you stop reaching out to a man, you force him to face something he has avoided for a long time, your absence. When you pull back your energy, the first thing that happens is he starts to feel that quiet space you left behind. Men don't usually say it out loud, but they notice everything. Even the little things. The good morning text that doesn't come. The check-in message that used to pop up. The way you used to be available without him asking. When that stops, it hits him in a place he didn't expect. It's like someone dimmed the lights in a room he didn't even know you were lighting. At first, he pretends it doesn't matter. He shrugs it off. He keeps scrolling. He tells himself he's busy. But inside, something shifts. Men feel distance differently. Silence to a man is louder than any speech. He may act tough on the outside, but inside he starts replaying things. Wondering, questioning, trying to figure out what changed, what he did, what you're thinking. That silence becomes a mirror pointed right at him. Then the curiosity grows. Not the cute kind, the uncomfortable kind, the kind that makes him check his phone twice, just to make sure he didn't miss something, the kind that makes him think about you during moments he never did before, while driving, while working, in the middle of the night. The absence becomes a presence, and it follows him around because he's not used to not having your energy so close. He starts noticing things he never noticed before. The effort you used to give, the support you provided, the time you poured in without asking for anything back. When those things disappear, they leave an echo. Men don't always appreciate consistency until it's gone. They don't always value softness until they feel the cold. And your silence, your distance, becomes the cold he wasn't ready for. Slowly, that silence presses on his pride because men don't like feeling replaced. They don't like feeling ignored. They don't like feeling like they don't matter. Even the most confident man has a moment where he needs to feel needed. And when you step back, he starts to wonder if someone else is getting the energy he took for granted. That right there shakes him more than anything. The funny part is you're not doing anything dramatic. You're not arguing. You're not begging. You're not chasing. You're just not reaching out. And that alone is powerful. Your silence forces him to sit with himself, to sit with the truth, to sit with his choices. That's something most men avoid until there's no other option. Then comes the realization. The moment he notices that life feels a little emptier without you, a little quieter, a little less warm. He might not say it, but he feels it. He feels the missing piece, the gap where your care used to be. And it's that feeling right there that makes him understand that your presence was never small, your energy was never casual, you mattered more than he allowed himself to admit. And once that hits, he starts thinking differently. He moves differently. He feels differently. Because that silence you gave him wasn't punishment. It was clarity. And clarity has a way of opening a man's eyes in a way words never could. When you stop contacting a man, the first thing that really shakes him is the silence. A silence he never expected. A silence he thought you would never be strong enough to give him. He's so used to your messages, your check-ins, your softness, your presence. He got comfortable in that. He thought it would last forever. At first, he doesn't take it seriously. He thinks you're busy. He thinks you're playing. He thinks you're just having a moment. But as the hours turn into a day, and the day turns into two, something starts shifting inside him. A tightness, a question, a little panic he doesn't want to admit even to himself. He checks his phone more. He rereads old messages. He wonders what changed and when it changed. He wonders why you stopped needing him the way you used to. Men rarely feel the loss at the moment they cause it. They feel it when the supply ends, when the attention they took for granted suddenly dries up. Your silence starts echoing in his mind louder than your words ever did. Because silence doesn't argue. Silence doesn't chase. Silence makes him face himself. He starts replaying the last conversation you had, trying to remember your tone, trying to figure out if you sounded different, trying to find a clue he missed. And then he realizes he wasn't listening before. Not really. Not the way you deserve. Not the way a man listens when he's afraid to lose someone. He begins to feel replaced before he even knows if you replaced him. Men fear being replaced more than being wrong. It's the truth they never say out loud. He starts wondering who you're talking to now, who's getting the attention that used to be his, who you're laughing with, who you're opening up to instead of him. Your silence forces him to imagine things, and his imagination punishes him far more than you ever could, because the mind always paints the worst picture. He begins noticing your absence in places he ignored your presence, that empty space in his day where your message used to be, that quiet moment where he used to expect a call, that comfort that used to be automatic. And it suddenly isn't automatic anymore. He starts missing the small things, the good morning text, the way you cared, the way you asked about his day, the way you made him feel like he mattered even when he didn't show you the same effort. He starts feeling the weight of his own behavior, the things he didn't say, the times he didn't show appreciation, the moments he brushed you off. Your silence becomes a mirror he can't escape, a mirror that reflects the truth about how he treated you, a mirror that finally makes him understand what you meant to him. And in that silence, he begins to realize the difference between losing interest and losing a woman who cared. One is nothing, the other is everything. When a woman stops reaching out, a man suddenly finds himself sitting alone with the truth he's been avoiding. He feels the silence in places he didn't even know existed. At first, he tells himself he's fine, that he's busy, that he's focused. But deep down, that quiet space starts pushing memories back into his mind. He hears your laugh in the middle of the day. He remembers your voice, the softness in it, the way you used to ask, how he was even when he didn't deserve the care. And for the first time, he realizes he took that presence for granted. He starts checking his phone more than he used to, not because he's waiting for a message, but because he's hoping for one. Your name doesn't pop up. And that's when it hits him harder than anything you could have said. He scrolls through old conversations, trying to remember where things shifted. He replays moments he brushed off, thinking they didn't matter. But now, in the quiet, everything matters. Every ignored message, every half-hearted reply, every moment you needed him, and he wasn't there in the way he should have been. He starts to feel irritated, but not at you, at himself, at his decisions, at the way he treated something valuable like it was replaceable. He thinks he can distract himself, maybe with friends, work, or social media, but nothing fills the space you left. The silence becomes a mirror, and he's forced to see his own reflection in it. And that reflection doesn't look as confident anymore. It looks like a man who thought you'd always be there, even when he wasn't giving you up. You deserve. There are moments when he picks up his phone, types out a message, deletes it, types it again, deletes it again. Not because he doesn't want to reach out, but because he doesn't know what to say that won't expose how much he actually cares. Pride becomes a heavy weight on his chest. He wants to speak, but ego keeps his mouth shut. Yet every minute of silence is a reminder that he might have pushed too far this time he begins to wonder what you're doing, who you're talking to, whether you're thinking about him at all. His mind becomes the very place he used to escape from. And that's the power of distance. It forces him to feel everything he avoided. It forces him to wake up. It forces him to confront the truth that losing access to you wasn't just a shift in communication. It was a shift in his life. And he starts to understand that the silence isn't punishment. It's a consequence of his choices. And for the first time, he sees the weight of those choices clearly the moment you stop reaching out. Something shifts inside him. At first, he might pretend he didn't notice. He'll try to convince himself it's nothing, that maybe you're just busy or distracted. But after a day or two, reality hits him slowly, like cold water dripping on his neck. He knows you're pulling away. He can feel it, even if he doesn't want to admit it. And this is when his mind starts running in circles he can't control. He starts replaying every recent conversation, trying to pinpoint what changed. He remembers your tone, your pauses, the moments when you felt distant. He wonders if he said something he shouldn't have, if he missed something important, if he ignored your feelings one too many times. Regret begins creeping into his chest, not loud at first, but steady, growing stronger each hour. It becomes this uncomfortable pressure he can't shake off. And the strangest part is he never realized how much he relied on your messages until they stopped arriving. He checks your social media more often than he would ever admit, not to stalk, but to feel connected. He wants to see if you're okay, if you're active, if you posted something that gives him a clue. He looks at your stories trying to interpret things that probably mean nothing. He notices every little thing now, things he used to overlook, because he assumed you'd always be around. And that assumption starts to feel foolish to him. He begins imagining scenarios where he finally reaches out, but he overthinks every possible outcome. What if you ignore him? What if you reply coldly? What if you've already moved on? His fear isn't just losing you. It's losing the version of himself he used to be when he was close to you. Because whether he admits it or not, you made him feel like a better man. You brought out a softness in him he didn't show to anyone else. And now he realizes how rare that connection was at night. When his guard is down, that's when it hits him hardest. He thinks about the times he should have appreciated you more. The times he dismissed your feelings. The times he assumed you'd wait. He starts to understand something he never understood before. Silence can be louder than words. And yours is echoing through his mind like a truth he can't escape. It forces him to face himself, his mistakes, his ego, his neglect. And in that reflection, he sees everything he should have done differently. Everything he wishes he could fix. Everything he might have lost without even realizing it when you stop contacting him. Something unexpected happens inside him. At first, he thinks you're just giving him space, something he believed he wanted. But silence has a way of revealing the value of things he didn't appreciate fully. He starts noticing how empty the small moments feel. The mornings aren't the same without your message. The nights feel longer. Even his routine feels like it's missing a piece. He realizes your presence wasn't noise. It was balance. And without it, everything feels slightly off. He begins to wonder if you stop caring. And that thought hits him harder than he expected, because for the first time, he understands that your attention was something meaningful, not guaranteed, not promised, not owed, something you chose to give him every day. And that choice mattered. Now that it's gone, he feels the consequences of every time he acted like it wasn't important, every time he didn't reply, every time he told you he was too busy, every time he made you feel like your effort was one-sided. He may even start testing himself, telling his mind he doesn't need you. But the heart works differently. The heart remembers kindness, connection, consistency, and he starts missing the emotional safety you gave him. The way you made him feel understood, the comfort of knowing someone cared deeply. He tries distracting himself, but even the distractions feel forced. Nothing feels natural anymore. That's the effect of losing something genuine. It leaves a mark on your day in ways you can't pretend away. There are moments when he imagines texting you just to break the tension inside him. But then he hesitates, thinking about how he treated you. He wonders if you stop contacting him because you're tired, because you're done, because you finally chose yourself. That thought brings a discomfort he didn't expect. It forces him to consider his own behavior, maybe for the first time in a long time. And this is where a shift happens. His pride begins to crumble. Under the weight of his realization, he starts to feel the emotional consequences of taking someone for granted. The silence makes him reflect on his own flaws. Maybe he was inconsistent. Maybe he was careless. Maybe he acted like you'd always be there no matter what. And now, faced with the possibility of losing you, he feels something he thought he was immune to: vulnerability. The silent fear of losing access to someone who brought something irreplaceable into his life. And he begins to understand that your absence isn't emptiness. It's a message that says you deserve to be valued. Not just notice your silence hits him in a way your words never did. Because for the first time, he's not hearing your voice. He's not seeing your name pop up. And he's not feeling your energy pouring into him 24 hours a day. A man doesn't understand what he had when it was right in front of him. He only understands when the noise stops and he's left alone with nothing but his own thoughts echoing back at him. Silence is loud. Silence is heavy. Silence is a mirror, and he hates what he sees when he looks into it. He starts to replay the moments you were there for him. The late night messages you sent just to check on him. The way you made his day easier without asking for anything in return. The comfort he didn't appreciate because he thought it would always be there. Men always assume your effort is endless until you stop giving it. And when you stop, it shakes something inside him he didn't even know was fragile. Your silence makes him question himself. He starts asking why you're gone, what changed, what he did, why you suddenly pulled back. And these questions don't let him sleep. Because deep down, he knows he didn't value you. He knows he got too comfortable. He knows he didn't match your energy. And now he feels the sting of losing something he didn't protect. He scrolls through your old messages, trying to find clues. He reads the conversations where you were trying, where you were patient, where you were sweet, where you were open. And he sees how slowly you faded, how your messages became shorter, how your replies became slower, how your energy shifted long before your silence arrived. And it hits him that your silence wasn't sudden. It was earned. A man can ignore your words, but he can't ignore your absence. Because your absence has weight, it presses on him. It follows him everywhere. When he wakes up, he checks his phone unconsciously. When something funny happens during his day, he instinctively thinks about sending it to you, but he can't. And that tiny moment hurts more than he will ever admit. He feels the difference between missing someone and losing someone. Missing is temporary. Losing is permanent. And your silence feels like a warning that he might be losing the one woman who actually cared, actually gave, actually tried. And he starts to panic inside, not in a dramatic way, but in that quiet, painful way when a man realizes he messed up something he can't replace, something he didn't cherish, something that won't come back easily. Your silence becomes the lesson he never wanted, but desperately needed. At first, he pretends it doesn't bother him. He tells himself he's busy, he's focused, he's fine, but that act doesn't last long, because the moment he realizes you're not checking in, you're not calling, you're not texting, you're not giving him attention, that's the moment his mind starts chasing you long before his actions do. A man feels the absence of feminine energy in a way he can't explain, because your presence wasn't just words on a screen. It was comfort. It was warmth. It was support. And now that energy is gone, he starts wondering where you went, who you're talking to, what's changed. And suddenly the woman he didn't prioritize becomes the woman he can't stop thinking about. That's the irony. When you're available, he thinks he has options. When you disappear, he realizes you were the option he didn't deserve. Silence exposes the truth. It shows him exactly what he lost without you having to say a single thing. He starts checking your social media more than he wants to admit. He tries to see if you're posting anything, liking anything, smiling anywhere. He starts noticing things he never paid attention to before. Your pictures, your captions, your confidence, your glow. And every post makes him wonder if you're moving on, if someone else is talking to you, if someone else is appreciating you in ways he didn't. This curiosity slowly turns into anxiety. And anxiety turns into desire. Men chase what they fear losing. Men pursue what they can't control. Your silence removes his control completely. He can't predict you anymore. He can't expect you anymore. He can't rely on your love being available on demand. And that lack of control is what makes him feel something real for the first time. He starts rewriting the narrative. In his head, he becomes the man who wants to reach out, the man who wants to fix things, the man who suddenly realizes he cared more than he thought. It's not because he changed overnight. It's because silence forced him to face himself. It forced him to confront the emptiness he filled with your presence without giving anything back. He starts showing up differently, not because you asked, not because you begged, but because your silence made him feel the consequences of his own behavior. When you stop contacting him, you're not being dramatic. You're being honest. Honest about your worth. Honest about your boundaries. Honest about what you will no longer accept. And that honesty pulls him toward you more than any message ever could. When a woman gives a man her time, her softness, her loyalty, he gets used to it like it's a natural part of his life. He starts believing your effort is normal. He starts believing your presence is guaranteed. He starts believing you'll always be there, no matter how little he gives back. But when you stop contacting him, the illusion breaks. And when it breaks, it hits him with a reality he never expected. He realizes your presence was never his right. It was a privilege he mishandled, because your texts weren't duty, they were love. Your calls weren't routine, they were care. Your consistency wasn't neediness, it was devotion. And when all of that disappears, he feels the loss not just in his mind, but in his routine, in his confidence, in his ego, because he wasn't prepared to lose a woman who gave him more than he ever earned. Silence makes him see the imbalance he created, how you were giving, and he was receiving without recognizing your value. And now, without you, his life feels a little emptier. Not dramatically, not loudly, but in those quiet moments he can't escape. Those small moments when he sees something that reminds him of you. When he hears a song that brings back a memory, when he opens his phone and realizes the message he wanted isn't coming, he starts to understand that your love was never a burden. It was a blessing he treated casual. And now he sees the difference between a woman who tries for him and the women who never care. Your absence highlights the uniqueness he ignored, the comfort he didn't appreciate, the stability he didn't protect. And deep inside, he starts to feel a regret he can't fully express. Your silence also forces him to question himself. Why didn't he try harder? Why didn't he communicate better? Why didn't he match your effort? Why did he assume you would stay? And these questions press on him because he knows the truth. He didn't lose you because you were dramatic. He lost you because he was careless. He starts understanding that you're not someone he can take lightly. You're not someone he can use as emotional filler. You're not someone he can keep on standby while he figures out his life without your voice calming him, without your words supporting him, without your presence grounding him. He begins to understand the value of what he let slip away. You were never his convenience. You were his choice, a choice he didn't honor, a choice he didn't protect, a choice he didn't appreciate. And now your silence is teaching him the lesson his ego refused to learn. A man might not show it, but he feels the shift immediately. When your energy fades, when your messages stop, when your presence disappears, something inside him tightens. He starts feeling a heaviness. He can't explain because your absence doesn't just remove you from his life, it removes the emotional support he depended on quietly. Your words lifted him. Your attention affirmed him. Your consistency stabilized him. And now, without it, he feels unbalanced. He starts noticing the difference in his mood, the difference in his motivation, the difference in his daily rhythm. Because your presence didn't just fill space, it brought a sense of meaning. You were the soft reminder that someone cared. Someone believed in him. Someone saw something in him worth loving. And now that reminder is gone, and he realizes how much those small moments mattered. Your silence becomes a reflection of your worth. It shows him what life feels like without your kindness, without your patience, without your warmth. And that absence hits harder than any argument could, because arguments still mean communication. Silence means a boundary. Silence means a decision. Silence means you're choosing yourself. And a man feels that shift with a seriousness he wasn't prepared for. He starts replaying conversations where he dismissed your feelings, moments where he didn't listen, times when he minimized your effort. Your silence makes him see all the things you tolerated but shouldn't have, all the times you stayed even when you felt alone, all the chances you gave him when he didn't give you much in return. And he realizes how lucky he was, not because you were perfect, but because you loved him in ways he didn't know how to appreciate. And this realization stings. It stings because men aren't used to being confronted with emotional accountability, but your silence forces it. It forces him to see himself through your absence. It forces him to acknowledge the imbalance he created. It forces him to reflect on what he failed to give. And it forces him to feel the depth of your worth, the worth he never fully saw when you were present. He starts comparing you to others, not because he wants to, but because he can't help it. He realizes how rare your patience was, how rare your effort was, how rare your loyalty was. And he starts fearing that he lost someone irreplaceable, that he might never find someone who loves the way you did, someone who understands the way you did, someone who supports the way you did. And that fear, even if he never says it, sits heavy on his heart. Your silence teaches him the lesson he avoided, that a woman's love is not a guarantee. It must be valued. It must be reciprocated. It must be earned. And now he feels the weight of that truth every single day. You're no longer reaching out. Sometimes you don't even realize how powerful your silence is until you finally use it. You spend weeks, months, maybe even years trying to explain yourself, trying to fix things, trying to hold the relationship together with both hands while he acts like he has all the time in the world. And the moment you stop texting first, stop checking in, stop asking, are you okay? Something shifts, not just in him, but in you. Because silence isn't weakness. Silence is clarity. Silence is strength. Silence is that moment when you finally choose yourself. And let me tell you something, when you stop contacting a man, he does two things every single time. First, he starts thinking in a way he has never thought before. Because men don't think when you're talking, they think when you're silent. They don't reflect when you're explaining. They reflect when you walk away. Your absence becomes louder than your presence ever did. Your silence becomes a mirror. And he's forced to look at himself, maybe for the first time. The second thing he does is react. And trust me, that reaction will tell you everything about who he truly is. If he values you, he won't let your silence sit too long. He won't let your absence settle. He'll start asking questions, checking in, showing up in ways he never did before. But if he doesn't care, if he was only comfortable with you doing all the emotional work, then your silence exposes that too. You don't even have to say a word. Silence reveals everything. So this speech isn't about playing games. This is about understanding your worth. This is about realizing that you don't chase someone who takes you for granted. You don't beg for attention, for consistency, for effort. Sometimes the best thing you can do is stop talking, step back, and let the truth show itself. Because when you stop contacting a man, you don't lose anything, you find out everything. And sometimes that is the freedom you didn't know you needed. When you decide to stop contacting a man, something powerful happens inside you first. You feel that quiet shift, that moment where you finally say, I'm done trying to inspire effort. It's not anger. It's not revenge. It's not bitterness. It's a deep, peaceful decision to stop pouring into someone who isn't pouring back. And that is when the real transformation begins. Because men feel your energy long before they notice your action. They can sense when you've emotionally checked out, even if you're still standing right in front of them. But when you physically pull back, no message, no reminder, no good morning, no did you reach home safe, that's when it hits him. He starts going through every message you ever sent. He starts replaying things you said that he didn't take seriously at the time. Every joke, every warning, every moment you whispered that you were tired. And suddenly, he realizes he didn't lose a conversation. He lost consistency. He didn't lose a text. He lost someone who truly cared. And the silence becomes heavy. He starts checking his phone more than he ever did, waiting for your name to pop up, convincing himself you're just busy, telling himself you'll come around. But women don't disconnect randomly. You disconnect after you've tried everything, after you've explained your heart in every language you know. After your patience has stretched so far it begins to tear. And when you finally go quiet, it's not to punish him. It's because you're tired of punishing yourself by staying. Silence exposes the truth in a way words never can. And his reaction to that silence shows who he really is. If he truly cared, he won't stay comfortable watching your absence grow. He'll feel that emptiness. He'll feel that shift in the air. He'll feel that space where your presence used to be. That's when a real man steps up. He reaches out. He apologizes. He initiates. He tries. Because losing a good woman is a pain that echoes long after she leaves. But the wrong man, he'll stay quiet too. Not because he's strong, not because he's unbothered, but because he was never invested in the first place. And that silence from him becomes your answer. The answer you were always scared to face. The answer your heart already knew but didn't want to accept. But even the answer is a gift because it lets you walk away with your self-respect, not your confusion. When you stop contacting a man, you give him a chance to show his truth without you guiding him, reminding him, or rescuing him. You let him reveal whether he was with you or just around you. You let him show whether he valued you or simply enjoyed the benefits of your presence. Silence becomes a filter. It clears out the pretenders. It separates the temporary from the permanent. And something amazing happens on your side too. You start breathing differently. You start sleeping peacefully again. You start realizing how much emotional weight you were carrying. You begin to feel lighter, stronger, more grounded. You start remembering who you were before you made someone else the center of your world. You begin reconnecting with yourself, your desires, your peace, your purpose. You stop needing validation from someone who wasn't given it. You start giving it to yourself. You no longer wake up wondering why he hasn't texted. You wake up wondering why you allowed yourself to settle for so little. And that realization is powerful. Because once a woman reclaims her worth, she becomes untouchable. She stops begging. She stops chasing. She stops explaining. She stops lowering herself to fit someone else's emotional immaturity. She rises. And that rise is what he feels the most. Not the silence, not the distance, but the glow that comes when a woman chooses herself again. And that glow is what many men regret. Long after you stop contacting him, he starts feeling the consequences. He realizes you weren't dramatic. You were done. You weren't emotional. You were exhausted. You weren't cold. You were tired of being warm to someone who refused to meet you halfway. So remember this. Silence is not empty. Silence is full of answers. And when you stop contacting a man, you're not disappearing. You're allowing the truth to appear. And whatever truth shows up, he'll think, he'll react, he'll reveal. It's always better than clinging to someone who doesn't see your value until after you're gone.